The leaves turn gold, the weather turned cold, and the story began to unfold. It's 1976, a season still alive. The legends and the memories that time could never hide. From the kickoff in September to the champions at the end, we turn the pages back again and live those days once more, my friend.
Welcome back to Pigskin Glory. It's Friday, August 20th, 1976, 50 years ago today in football history. We begin north of the border where the Montreal Alouettes defense was taking plenty of heat. Injuries had depleted the unit, but after surrendering 45 points to Ottawa, defensive coordinator Dick Roach wasn't interested in publicly blaming individual players. Montreal was trying to patch things together, including the arrival of John Beaton from Edmonton, while management made it clear it wasn't interested in Calgary's Soupy Campbell. Meanwhile, football and gambling were headed toward a legal collision in Delaware. The state's attorney general said he saw no legal problem with a proposed football lottery based on professional games. The NFL strongly disagreed and was considering legal action to stop it. The lottery was scheduled to begin around the opening of the regular season, with one version even involving point spreads. Around the NFL, nearly 400 players received a temporary reprieve. Commissioner Pete Rozelle delayed a decision on the regular season roster limit while negotiations continued with the Players Association. Training camp rosters were still scheduled to drop from 60 to 49, except for expansion teams Seattle and Tampa Bay. Today's transaction wire was short. Washington placed Ernie Jeanette on injured reserve and waived offensive lineman Tim Brannon and receiver Doug Winslow. In Cincinnati, rookie Billy Brooks was already making an impression. Veteran All-Pro Isaac Curtis said that if he could choose any receiver in the NFL, he'd choose Brooks. That's some serious praise. Cincinnati believed the rookie's presence could make defenses think twice about concentrating entirely on Curtis. For our Football Digest post of the day, we continue looking through the magazine's team-by-team profiles and top selections from the 1976 NFL Draft. Among them were Atlanta's Bubba Bean, Buffalo's Mario Clark, Cincinnati's Billy Brooks, Seattle's Steve Nyos, and Tampa's number one overall selection, Leroy Selman. It's a fascinating snapshot at these players before anyone knew what their NFL careers would become. We also remember Jack Stackpool. There was no obituary that I could find, but he passed away on this date at the age of 58. Stackpool played college football at Washington and selected by Philadelphia in the 10th round of the 1942 NFL Draft. He played fullback for the Eagles during the 1942 season. Then it was time for Friday night's preseason action. In Buffalo, the Bills absolutely dominated the Green Bay Packers. Joe Ferguson had signed a new multi-year contract earlier in the day and celebrated by throwing 2 touchdown passes to Bob Chandler. Gary Merengue helped Buffalo build a 16-0 halftime lead. Darnell Powell and Jim Braxton scored on the ground, and Ike Harrison finished the shutout with a 36-yard return of an interception for a touchdown on the game's final play. In Baltimore, New Orleans Saints defeated the Colts 26-20 in overtime. Baltimore forced overtime by scoring 10 points in the final 70 seconds of regulation, but New Orleans eventually finished it when Mike Strachan scored from 3 yards out, 11 minutes and 20 seconds into the overtime. Bobby Scott threw for 265 yards for the Saints as New Orleans improved to 3-1 on the preseason. And finally, perhaps the biggest surprise of the night came in Pittsburgh. The New York Giants shut out the 2-time defending Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers 17-0. New York rushed for 240 yards, including 100 from Marsh White and 70 from rookie Gordon Bell. Pittsburgh coach Chuck Noll admitted afterwards that the Steelers had simply beaten his team physically. The Steelers had entered the night undefeated during the preseason, but the Giants handled the defending champions a convincing loss. So, August 20th, 1976 gave us everything from labor negotiations and a brewing fight over legalized football gambling to promised rookies in a full night of preseason surprises. The Bills won 37-0. The Saints needed overtime, and the defending Super Bowl champions were shut out at home. And that's what was happening in football 50 years ago today. Join us tomorrow as we continue our journey through the 1976 NFL season. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Pigskin Glory for more football from 50 years ago today.